According to the European Environmental Agency, the EU is facing increasing pressure on vital resources. 30% of Europeans already live in regions exposed to water stress, with Southern Europe reaching 70% in summer. While protecting the environment and securing water resilience, the European Commission must keep industry competitive. And in today's episode, we explore how Europe can protect its water, build a circular economy, and turn sustainability into a strategic advantage. My name is Danilo, and I'm Executive Officer of the Youth of the YEPP. Welcome to the YEPP Show.
The time is now to go circular.
Some countries are lagging behind.
All of us need to be more mindful on how we use water.
I think that Portugal is not prepared for this kind of events.
Who is paying for it?
The next generation should be bold.
So today I'm joined by YEPP Vice President Matti Steinmetz. Hi, Matti.
Hello.
And by Isabel Fernandez, YEPP Group Press Trainee.
Hi.
How are you doing, guys?
Good.
Good.
Well, as you can see, we are not in our usual studio in the European Parliament because we are not in the European Parliament. We are in the Berlaymont, which is the symbol of the European Commission, because for the first time in the YEPP Show, we have a European Commissioner with us. Hi, Jessika Roswall.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm very happy that you are here.
Thank you so much.
And I can be on this show.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for hosting us. And just to introduce the guest of today, Jessika Roswall is Commissioner for Environment, Water Resilience and Competitive Circular Economy, a very long name. Thank you so much for being here today with us. Matti, I want to start directly with you, because recently YEPP approved a resolution really on this topic, so on water resilience. So our Commissioner here is the best person to address our concerns. Can you give us some insights on this resolution?
Yes, thank you, Danilo, and thank you, Commissioner, for accepting our invitation. And a couple of weeks ago, we were actually in your home country in Stockholm, where we adopted a crucial resolution on exactly your portfolio on water resilience. And in this resolution, we actually asked to have water being considered as a critical raw material in Europe, especially as we believe it's key for our strategic autonomy to be independent. We see it nowadays, and every day there are new news saying we need to have a critical hand on our raw materials. We need to have a say on it, but we see the more and more non-European investors investing into these infrastructures, and there we are quite concerned because on the one hand side we see natural catastrophes, increasing droughts. So there in this resolution we actually call on member states to work closely together, especially if they share rivers or lakes, to protect the water, especially in droughts, that we are more careful in the use of water, that we have a better screening actually on who is investing in our infrastructure, as we believe it's a critical infrastructure, as I said. So therefore my question to you would be, how does this go together? On the one hand side, we say water is so important, the water resilience, and on the other hand, we lose a bit, if I may say so, the hand over the infrastructure. How does this go hand in hand?
So thank you for having me, and thank you for having water on today's show, and also a good resolution in Stockholm in November. It's a lot of questions in your questions. I mean, water we have taken for granted for too long, and that cannot continue of very many reasons actually. And I'm the first commissioner with water in my long title, and that is a political sign that we need to prioritize water, both when it comes to scarcity and also when it comes to the quality of water, but we will probably get back to that. And of course the situation looks very differently from different member states, different regions, but it is a fact that there is parts of Europe that is at risk of desertification, and some islands, for example, don't have water even though it's the beginning of the season. So this is a really important question for me, and it's important question for, as you say, our resilience and our security. And that's why we need to treat water as this critical infrastructure that it actually is. I mean, we cannot manage without water. And that is true for not only you and me, but also for our industry. So I think that and then it comes an extra layer, as you talk, a very important layer when it comes to who owns this critical infrastructure. And there I think we have moved forward the right direction, and the member states is in control, is their competence. But we also as a commission need to talk about the awareness on the threats that water can be under, not only to the scarcity and quality, but also, as you said, who is running the infrastructure. So here I think we need to be more aware of the way forward.
And do you actually see a way of how we could get back the control of those foreign investors, in the sense that we do everything possible to regain the majority of those shareholders again, in the sense that member states actually contribute and be more sensibilized on that, or even if the Commission has a hand on putting somehow of a veto? I mean, it's always difficult to veto something, but do you see there any leverage to regain, in a certain perspective, to control, as it's so strategic for us? And you mentioned not only for us as human beings, but as well for our industries, for our agriculture, for food production. So it's quite of a vast topic.
So I think, it probably looks very different in different member states and different regions. So very often water management is a public asset. And of course it is important how we manage that, and we are aware who is investing and what products we are using in this. But I would argue that my main focus now is also on that we invest too little in the water infrastructure, and that is a problem for both our a short-term perspective when it comes to having water in our pipes. Not only Cyprus and the Mediterranean countries are at scarcity risk, but also the countries in the north of Europe is also that. So this is we need to also invest in water now. And if we don't do that, we will also maybe be in the same situation as we are in the energy scarcity. So this is my main concern. So I think that is one important thing to discuss. But with that said, of course, we need to also be aware of the risk that not having water and being owned by some that we don't know the interest is. And here I think that we as a Commission can work very much together with member states, because sometimes we have the broad information, horizontal perspective. But with that said, it's also the competence and the knowledge is also on the national governments. So the work is ongoing, and I would say that in the last 10 years it's been moving forward, but we are probably not there yet.
So you see that we are going into the right direction, but we need to speed up our efforts.
Absolutely.
Okay. And how would you say, because you just mentioned water scarcity, not only in the south, but also in other regions in Europe, how do you see that we can ensure that we have enough water for agriculture, for industry, to reduce the waste of water? Because we discussed, and I know you are quite vocal on that as well, that you have leakages in pipes. How can we ensure that we have enough water for the future as well?
No, I think I heard this maybe a year ago, or many years ago. If you ask a person who have everything and you say, I have, what is your main problem? And the person have a lot of things. He says I have these 10 of problems. If you ask a person who don't have any water, that person only have one problem, and that is water. So this is why water is so essential. But I think that what we need to do is putting and leakage is of course one problem, and we are really wasting water in Europe now. I know, for example, in Italy, the leakages in pipe is almost 50%. Average is 40% also in the Nordic countries, in the Netherlands. I visited the other week. We have a problem with leakages, and that is of course something that we need to address. So I would say it's a lot of things that we need to do. We need to care more about the water. We need to reuse our water more. We need to use the water more efficiently. And here are also difficulties, because in some member states agriculture is the main user. In other, it's industry. And of course, consumer is also a big user, but it differs so much. So it's not like one size fits all in the proposals that I can put forward. But I think that all of us need to be more mindful on how we use water, and we have to stop wasting water. We need to treat it as the resource that it is. Because we know that without water, as I said on this person, it's also without water we don't have energy production. For example, nuclear plants needs cooling, car manufacturing, farmers of course, but so everybody needs water. So it's a lot of things that we need to do, but my main focus here is of course to see that stop wasting water.
So I clearly hear, and thank you for this message again, the sensibilization in society that we need to be really mindful as well on our daily basis, how we use water and for which reasons we use it, and if there are possibilities to reuse it and to clean it up and to bring it into the other portfolio that you have as well, the circular economy, that you reuse it and not waste it as such. But maybe we are joined today by our trainee as well in the EPP, and before we discussed quite interesting elements, and that bridges a bit what we discussed before agriculture, but maybe Isabel has another angle that we can bring into it as well, because it touches your portfolio as well quite a lot.
So early this year in Portugal, Portugal was hit by several storms, and that caused major disruption. Only in Leiria, the damages are already estimated around 792 million euros. Unfortunately, a lot of people lost electricity, water, and also communications in like a couple of weeks. And also the storm caused several deaths that we were not expecting this. And it's not the first time that this happened in Portugal, but I think that was the first time that like all Europe and internationally, like they speak about this, was raised by António Costa, the president of the European Council, and by a lot of MEPs in the parliamentary sessions. We are not used to it. I think that Portugal is not prepared for this kind of events. I think that our country, it's not prepared for the climate change, for the extreme weather and for water crisis. At the same time, I also feel that this is not an isolated event anymore, I think. And I think that it's really, really important to talk more about water resilience, and people should know about this. So my question to you is, given that these extreme events are becoming more frequent, how can the European Water Resilience Strategy concretely support more vulnerable regions, particularly in the Southern Europe, Portugal, in becoming better prepared and more resilient?
So that's a really good question. And yes, or unfortunately, I think we will see these extreme events, weather events, more and more often, more and more severe, more and more prolonged. The last week, I presented together with my colleague Hadia Labib the wildfire communication, because that is also something that is coming more and more often. And from my portfolio-wise, I really argue for the prevention part, because as you say, how much, I mean, it costs people life. This is terrible. But also the cost is enormous, both when it comes to floods, droughts and wildfires.
Yes.
And my arguing is that the cost of not doing things is bigger than actually investing in the nature protection, water resilience, and the other things. So this is crucial importance for me. But sometimes it's in this political environment that we are a little bit difficult, also, to be honest. But seeing these terrible events, like in Portugal, of course, make us all aware of what we need to do, and we are doing doing a lot of things, both when it comes to climate adaptation, using the money wisely on investing it's not a cost, it's an investment in the protection and the prevention. And the water resilience strategy is also trying to do some actions on this, but again, it's also have to come together with the member states and the regions. But of course, we need also to put more money in this prevention. But I would also argue, and this is for climate adaptation, and this is of course something that we need to focus more and more on. But also we know more today. We also know that we need to invest in nature-based solutions. We need to, when it comes to wildfires, we know that active forest management is helping us to prevent fires. Also when it comes to flood protection. So we have a lot of knowledge. We just need to act.
Yeah, if I can jump in on that, wildfires are also a problem in southern Italy and in Portugal as well. Is there also on that side a problem with using water for that? And also there is a lot of use of water for that. So I guess that's also a big part of the problem, no?
I think that right now the problem is the quantity of storms that we have that are really that happen regularly. So I think right now the country it's passing through a difficult time. Also, that point it's really bad in the summer because Portugal again it's not prepared, and Madeira because I am from Madeira, from a really small island. So if we destroyed our island, doesn't make sense. Like the tourists and also like people don't know how to act, and the government, I feel that the government is putting some measures, but I think that we need more. We need to talk about this more. We need to protect our country and our island because in winter we have storms and in the summer we have fires. So we need to have more conscience with that.
No, and I agree. That is why I think this is important. The resolution is important, but we need. I mean, I was amazed. I would say that may be the wrong word when we prepared the wildfires communication because awareness is not really there. I mean, we tend to forget. I live in an area which have, in Sweden, we also have wildfires actually. Of course, it's the southern Europe that is mostly hit, but also the north of Europe is also hit. And everybody remember last summer, but then it tends to forget. And then we need to continue talking about this. We need to be prepared because actually being prepared and notice when a wildfire starts, it helps a lot. But again, the most important thing and the most cost-efficient thing we can do is to invest in the prevention.
If I can jump in on this as well, we discussed several times how important is investing and in prevention, as you mentioned. In this sense, who do you think should put the money? Well, I mean, who is paying for it? Is it gonna be some European investment plan? Is it gonna be private actors at a national level? Because we also know that, as we mentioned the structural problems in Italy and other countries for leakages, and that's gonna be a major cost. So, are private actors even able to invest so much in these infrastructures? What is the current state?
Yeah, no, it's not one answer on that question. I mean, I think that of course the commissions, the long-term budget, is the next budget, but also this current budget. Actually, we do use the cohesion fund for investing in water. Exactly because we started here, because water is a critical infrastructure. So that has actually happened this year, that the member states now can shift some of the money from the cohesion into water. And then, of course, the government needs to also invest. But with that said, we all member states are in this restraints. It's not so easy. It's a challenging time that we are living in at the moment. We have war in Ukraine, we have war in Iran, we have trade wars. This and high energy costs. So it's a lot of things that every government needs to do. So I would say that, of course, public money will be important. private money will also be important. That's why I think for me, and also in the water resilience strategy, you can see how we try to merge not only public money, different funds and innovation and Horizon and so forth, but also how to connect with the investments that needs to be done by the private. But as I said, when I meet with industries, I see that they understand that they also need to invest on for example, the reuse of water. The last point I want to say here is that I think that all of us consumers also not only need to treat the water more scarce and be more think about how we use it ourselves, but also need to discuss also water also have a price, and that is a really difficult question to discuss, because here again member states have different views and water is a human right. I totally agree, but we need to price the water, have a discussion on it at least.
And this also is, I think, as we have many young listeners, I think as well to our audience, a strong message that we need to be aware of our daily consumption of water, and that we should sensibilize as well our political responsible figures, is it at local, regional, national, or then as well at European level to team up to be more vigilant and to take the right measures to protect the water, to be careful about it, because it's for our future, and that's the future of the young people is lying as well ahead of us. So it's as well in our own interest of preparing ourselves for future crises to be prepared. Maybe on another topic, because I think it's quite linked, but as we shift a bit, I've seen you have been to the Netherlands recently, and you discussed there with the minister the PFAS, so like it is forever chemicals. For those of the audience who don't know what PFAS stands for, it's synthetic chemicals that are used since, let's say, around the 1950s, and it's quite difficult to extract them from water, and we have it as well in our blood, because those chemicals are everywhere in food, on screens of our phones. So maybe tell us a bit what was your intention to go to the Netherlands, and what is the European Commission doing to protect the citizens and the environment of those chemicals, and how can we reverse it to a certain extent, because it's quite difficult to detect and to extract it?
No, that's true. No, I was in the Netherlands last weekend visiting a hotspot, and we have a lot of hotspots all over Europe. We have PFAS and forever chemicals, as I said, because they are very persistent and they are very also movable, so they transport very easily. And I also did a PFAS test myself during the Danish presidency, and of course I also have PFAS in my blood. Actually, 14 they discovered, and half of these was also harmful in that sense that they also have endocrine disruptors. So I mean, this is an issue that concerns me very much, and also I know concerns people around Europe very much, and of course young people in particular, because that is they are like, if they are forever, they are building up and you get more and more. And what can we then do? We are trying to phase out PFAS, and for example in toys it's not allowed. We have, I mean, I think more or less the first day I was a commissioner, we forbid it in pizza boxes. We're trying to also, when it comes to some training clothes, recently we forbid it in fire foams, but of course the substitution would take some time. So I think what, for me, it's again back a little bit where we started on the first former discussion, is the awareness on how to take people's concern seriously, of course. But with that said, we also need PFAS in a lot of products. That is important for our digitalization, our green transition, our defense industry. So it's not so easy, unfortunately, to say that we will only ban PFAS, because this is important apparels products for us in our society. So what we are trying to do is to seek a ban when it comes to consumer products, but then those who really need it, and there is not a substitution yet. Of course, we need to invest in the innovation and research when it comes to substitution. We need to make clear that the production and the using of PFAS is not leaking out to the nature. Because as you said, we have it in water, it costs a lot of money to clean up. It is techniques somewhere, but not everywhere yet. We also have PFAS in soil that is leaking out in the air. So it's and that was what I saw then in the Netherlands. I've seen it in other places also. We have it in Sweden, for example. It's not only leaking out in the air; it's also leaking out in the water. So, well, it is the good thing is that we are finding out more and more of the solution of cleaning up, but also here the industry are investing, of course, in substitution. But this is a question that really everybody, I'm really is a priority for me to try to put forward something that can actually work.
And so you work as well with your colleagues in the here in the European Commission to have the horizontal approach, that you sensibilize other commissioners on the topic to team up with you to become active, if it's in agriculture, if it's in research, because I could hear from what you were saying that there are solutions, but they are quite costly at the moment or not there yet. So how is the collaboration on that side? Does it exist already, or is it something you really have to work hard on to sensibilize your colleagues in the Commission?
No, I mean, I'm working close with my colleague Stefan Sessionet on this. We are working on chemicals. Now this PFAS is 10,000 different chemicals, but we also have a regulation called REACH that we're also trying to modernize. But then, of course, as you said, I'm working on the research with my colleague Katarina Sarajeva, and of course using the funds that we have to do this, try to as I said, finding substitutions, but also the cleanup. If I may also, and of course everybody has to be involved in this. It's also a lot of other commissioners that are involved. But so I don't think I don't have a problem in the Commission, but I don't have a problem. But I think it's important that we talk about it. It's everywhere, and it's something that I'm concerned about, and that's why we need to find rules that can regulate it and help us going forward. When it comes to techniques, there are innovations around Europe. The problem sometimes is that we have not really yet scaled them up. So it's not only that we need money to find innovation, but also the scaling up, that is the Commission working on broadly on how to increase our competitiveness, increase our startup and scale-ups. That, of course, comes to all the companies. Just one thing that I'm very proud of is that in Europe, when it comes to the water sector, we have a lot of patents and innovation already. 40% of all the world's patents is made here in Europe. So the thinking, the innovators, the researchers are here, but we need also to help them to scale up, because we all need it, not only Europe but also the globe.
Yeah, these are great news that you mentioned that 40% are already in Europe, and I hear from what you just said and from our early discussion, the scaling up phenomenon, not only on sensibilization on PFAS, the innovation and the cleaning up of the water, but as well what we discussed earlier, the scaling up of finding new techniques to boost the water resilience is something that's going on at European level. And I think that's something as people always say, if you do good, talk about it as well. And I think this is something that we sometimes underestimate with all the news that are coming in on a daily basis, unfortunately. Maybe one because now we talked a lot about your portfolio on water, but I have as well one question on circular economy. And I read recently that in the European Union, around 47.7, around 50% of the products are recycled in the European Union. And those statistics from the European Commission actually show that some countries are lagging behind on that. Others are doing quite well already. How do we manage to bring them together and to increase the weights? Is it purely a national sensibilization initiative, or do we find a way at the European level to boost this even further and be mindful of our natural resources that are out there? to reuse them. The right to repair is entering into force soon. So there are initiatives. How do we manage to get those countries that are lacking a bit behind to the level of the recycling that we have already at European level?
So this is something that I really think the time is now to go circular. And yes, the figures is, as you say, but you can also turn the figures out and saying that we do circularity too less. The general figure that I use is that we are 12% circular in the whole of Europe. Then there are countries that are a little bit ahead and others. I think the momentum is now that the world is, as I said, in a very difficult situation. Europe is in a difficult situation. We don't have the resources in Europe. We need to be mindful of how we use our resources. And yes, it's about our planetary boundaries. But to be honest, at the moment, it's not something that is just good to have. This is something that is necessary for Europe's competitiveness and our daily lives. We need to so it's not only about recycling, it's about turning the society into a circular model. And I think the current conflicts also shows that we are in a hurry when it comes to making our societies more. And we are putting forward the Circular Economy Act later this year. And we talk a lot about simplification. I'm working a lot with simplification, but actually here I think that the simplification strategy is to use the single market. If again, back to scaling up, if we really want us to use the waste, not as a waste, as a resource, then we need the scaling. So I'm really looking forward to work on this, but and of all the reasons it's of course planet, but it's also because it would decrease our emissions, but also because we need it for our competitiveness and our resilience and security. So I'm looking forward to put forward that. And here we have high ambitions, but we cannot do it ourselves. We need the member states, but also all of us to actually have a change of mindset here on how we use things. But see waste is as a resource, that I would say is my main message.
To see it as a chance and not as a burden.
Exactly. So that's the only word that I lack in my title, actually.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Roswall. It was a very, very interesting conversation. But now the interview is not done yet because we have still one final game. It's called Completing the Sentence. We always do a final game at the end of each episode. So I leave the floor to Isabel to explain you all the rules.
Yes, so we have a game. We are going to I'm going to say to you the beginning of the sentence, and you need to complete with what do you think that it fits best.
The first things that come up in my mind,
yes.
Or I have to, so I don't think, I just speak.
You can, yes.
Oh my goodness.
So the first question is, the next generation should be?
Bold.
Okay. EU in 2014 should be?
We should be the strong continent that leads in the green transition.
Okay. When missed chance for Europe was?
That we did not focus on competitiveness earlier. That now we are doing that, but we should have taken that decision before.
Okay. And your best achievement was?
In life or?
Both.
Yes, both. You can say both.
Oh, because I'm very proud grandmother, as you know. So that is the first thing that I think. But I'm very, very proud of being commissioner.
Okay.
It is tough times, but this, I suppose, is my best achievement so far.
Okay.
Except Sophie then.
Okay. And the last one, I protect the environment in my daily routine by?
Being as circular as possible.
Okay.
Buying clothes that are holding a long time.
Okay.
And talk about the change of mindset that we need to do.
Okay.
This was Jessika Roswall. Thank you so much for hosting us and being our guest as well. Thank you so much, Matti, for joining me today.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Isabel.
Thank you.
And to all our listeners, see you next time.
You've been listening to the YEPP Show. Thank you for joining us today, and make sure to follow us on our social media.